It's Bevy, baby. You may know her as Bevy Smith, the host of Bravo's Fashion Queens, or her podcast, Revelations. But if you don't know the media maven, allow me to introduce you. Bevy Smith is a brand. She's a Harlem-born powerhouse who rose to the heights of the fashion industry by her 30s. But at age 38, she decided to follow a new path. Since then, Bevy's been a TV host, an author, an actress, an entrepreneur, and at 55, she says she's far from done. Bevy is a master negotiator, a firm believer in her own worth, and living proof that it gets greater later. Every time I sit with you, I feel a different kind of way. But on this particular day, when I sit with you, you are 55 years old. You live your life on your terms. Yeah. And you describe yourself as a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. Why are you a late bloomer, first of all?
Well, I mean, because I think really since like my 20s, people have been telling me that I should be in entertainment. But I was always an advertising person. I was, started out as a receptionist and worked my way up to becoming an advertising executive. And so, entertainment was something that I couldn't really even fathom for myself. And so to then pursue it at the age of 38, and then to really make it happen, and by the time I really kind of garnered any kind of success in the space, I was like 45 years old. I'd say that's a pretty late blooming.
I want to back us up. I picture you as a little girl, and I don't really know exactly in this moment how I pictured you, like in first grade or second grade. How did you imagine yourself growing up?
I grew up in a tenement, so I definitely wanted to live in a high-rise. In Manhattan, of course. I wanted to be an executive secretary because I grew up watching all those old 1950s, 1960s movies where being an executive secretary was the height of elegance, sophistication, and success. Because you were the gatekeeper. And actually, Hoda, as you know, to a certain extent, that's still very true.
That's still the case, yeah. Right, absolutely. Right? So you were looking for your profession in life, what to pursue. So what road did you take?
I became a receptionist. I didn't go directly to college. I became a receptionist at an advertising agency called Peter Rogers and Associates. And it was an incredible agency. They had Block Lama Mink. They had Vidal Sassoon. Like Mr. Vidal Sassoon would come into the office.
Oh, wow.
Claudette Colbert would come into the office. Cher came into the office. Like, it was like heady stuff.
Were you like freaking out? Were you like drop jaw?
No, because I was a young, sophisticated Manhattan girl. So my father always brought lots of magazines into the home, and we used to read. Me and my sister were just ferocious readers, and so I knew all these people. I knew all the socialites because we used to read W magazine when it was a broadsheet. Mm-hmm. I started reading the New York Times when I was like 13. So it's a very interesting thing when you grow up in Manhattan, because I grew up in Harlem, and for your listeners who may not know, Harlem is a part of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. So for me, my parents always took us into Manhattan proper, if you will. And so I was never kind of, you would always see famous people. Mm-hmm. To this day, as you know, Hoda. Yeah. Folks see you all the time. And it's like, hey, girl. And that's the way it is,
I one time walked behind Jerry Seinfeld for 6 blocks just trying to figure out, like, what would it feel like to be him? Because we knew we lived in that kind of neighborhood. And you're right, people hardly even looked up. or every now and then a hey. But that's how Manhattan folks do it.
Yes, that's how we do it. Mm-hmm. And so when I got there, I mean, I was just, I had, my parents instilled this really strong work ethic in us, which is no matter what your job is, no matter how allegedly low it is, you do your absolute best. You don't wait to get a great opportunity. Mm-hmm. Every opportunity that you're given is a good one, and you make the most of it.
So you did that. So you were a receptionist, and you did it A++.
Oh, yeah, I did A++. So I didn't have to take coats. I didn't have to get coffee, but I did all of that because in my life, I am nothing but a hostess. I am actually a barmaid, and eventually, I will own a bar because I love hosting people in that way. But in my life, that's one of my special gifts. I connect people and I make people feel welcome. And so when you came into my reception area, you were in my living room. Welcome. May I take your coat? Would you like coffee or tea? Again, this was not required of me.
You just did it.
I just did it because I wanted you to be comfortable in my space.
Wow. So you're doing this job and you do it to the nth, like your folks said, but that obviously that was not your goal. So how'd you get a break?
I had these amazing mentors at that agency, and they said that I did not belong up there. I belonged in the back with them, learning a skill. And that's when my life began to change. And I went back to school, and I went to NYU, and then one of my mentors, Jeff McKay, started his own advertising agency, and he brought me along, and he literally said, what part of advertising would you like to work in? And I said, I think account services and media directing, because I love to read. Yeah. And so when you're a media director, you get all the magazines in the world. And I said, media directing, but I also knew I was good with people, so account services as well. And he's like, okay.
I've been talking about this with all these women I'm interviewing, and almost everyone, including Helen Mirren, Viola Davis, Rita Moreno, they all say that at a bunch of points in their careers, they had imposter syndrome. They don't know I don't know. They don't realize I don't deserve this. I'm pretending. Deep down, not feeling that worth. Did you ever have that?
Okay, so here's the reason why I didn't have it.
You did not. No, this is big. This is big. You did not have it. Okay, good.
I'm going to tell you the truth, Hoda. Okay? Because very early on, I thought the key to my happiness was getting married and getting someone to take care of me. So I went to NYU, and I had a career specifically with the reason of trying to secure an amazing husband. Because I watched all those old 1950s, 1960s films, and I realized that if you have a certain pedigree, then you can attract a certain type of man. So me being an advertising executive, me going to NYU is a nice, little patina there, right? And I can secure this guy, and then I don't have to work anymore, and this guy's got to make me happy. So I didn't have imposter syndrome because I wasn't there for the long haul. I wanted to do a good job at my career, but I was not driven. I was not driven.
Now, that's interesting that you had that idea of wanting to secure a man, because to me, we're from the same generation. That actually seems like a little bit before us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I told you it was all those movies I watched.
Yeah,
and I was
you were into that.
I loved Bewitched, the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke,
when he would come home and she was there in her little pedal pushers, I was like, I want to wear a pedal pusher and wait for, him to come home, honey, from the, the architectural firm or wherever he was working. I wanted those things. I come from a community where women worked. So women were not fighting to work in Harlem. They worked, okay? You were fighting not to work, okay? That was a good life. You don't have to work, and you can live nice. You see what I mean? So
I hear you.
There's the difference.
100. I hear you 100. Okay. So there you were, advertising exec. I mean, how high, that's called, at one point it was the high life. How high was the life?
Oh, it was the very high life. It was amazing. That's when print media was a king. So I was at all those events and I knew all the people. Yeah. And I'm from 150th Street and 8th Avenue in Harlem. And I'm just in these rooms and I'm I'm in the mix.
So you're
fabulous.
So there you are. I mean, some would call that the mountaintop. Plant the flag. Yeah. You're done.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for you.
That wasn't the case. I got really very restless. I was very grateful for the opportunities that I had been afforded. And then I was feeling very is this all there is?
Yeah, what was missing?
I think the creativity of it all. I think there was a level of creativity that I was seeking. And it's so interesting that, I didn't want to own it. I think that this is what I went through. You talk about imposter syndrome, and I don't think I had that as much. I had the other thing, which is I wanted to be a creative, but because I worked with creatives so much, I had so much respect for them. And so I didn't feel like I could segue into creativity. I felt very strong and solid in my business acumen and strategy and numbers. But the creativity part, to become a writer, to deal in art and all this different kind of stuff, I suppressed that. But I knew there was something, inkling, a little thing in me. And that's why I kept trying to edge closer to creativity, but still have it be business. And that brought me to becoming the fashion advertising director at Vibe. And that was like a really great crossroads for me.
Well, Vibe was incredible. It brought you to Rolling Stone. I mean, now where was the man? That was what you were looking for. What was happening there?
So I was engaged like 2.5 times. And the last guy that I thought I was going to marry, I was 33 years old. And when that didn't work out, after I had kind of twisted myself and contorted myself, my being, to be with him, I decided to do some real, kind of introspective work on myself. And that's when the seeds of changing my life really got planted. And that's when I realized I was going to have to make myself happy. And that was a devastating thing to learn, because up until then, I was really banking on the guy to come along and make it all happen.
Well, it sounded like your imposter syndrome was in the relationships early on. Like you were trying to be someone you weren't. You were trying to be the puzzle piece that fit him as opposed to who you were. And I guess you just couldn't contain that. You tried and tried, but you had to be who you were.
I remember telling him he worked in music. And so he had a sexy career. I had a sexy career. Music and fashion, how great is that? And we would each kind of trade off with like the perks of our gigs. It was fabulous. And I remember telling him that when we got married, I didn't want to work. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? I was like, no, we'll get married and I'll have like 2 kids, but I can't work. And he was like, well, that's ridiculous. And I was like, no, it's not. I said, I just want to raise, I just want to be in the home. Because I didn't really actually want to raise children. I just didn't want to work. I said, I want to be in the home. And he told me, for the lifestyle that we want, we need 2 incomes. That's not going to work. He was very forthright.
Wow. And what'd you say?
I was devastated. And then I was like, a man can tell you the truth, but you will hear what you want to hear. So I was like, I'll convince him different. I'll change his mind. And he was and good for him. Yeah. He knew what he wanted. He wanted someone to be a partner. And I was not looking to be a partner. I was looking to be a dependent.
That's it. That's beautifully put. So you did internal work. What was revealed to you as you were doing this?
That I was far more strong and savvy and capable than I had ever realized. Because I was doing this career stuff, but without giving it much thought. So I was good at it, but it was very kind of innate for me to be good at that. And so it was just kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Sure. Oh, you want me for that? Okay. I didn't really care. And then when I had to realize that I had to make myself happy, I had to actually apply myself. And when I applied myself, I was like, oh,
wow.
Look at you. Wow. You've been selling yourself short.
Wow. And that means knowing your worth. Did you always get paid what you deserved to get paid?
A big part of my job was to negotiate. Money. So I love to negotiate. I love talking about negotiating money. To this day, I don't like for my agents and managers, because I'm always like, well, did you ask for this? And what about how can we do it this way? Yeah. I like to get in it. Yeah. So a lot of women don't like to negotiate, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Being able to say, this is what I feel like I'm worth, is hard for women. You've negotiated. There are women listening right now who are too scared to go in and ask for a raise because what if they say no? What advice do you have for that?
For women, I have to tell you this. It is about knowing your worth. And you have to understand that if you're valued and you're really good at what you do, if they won't give it to you, someone else will. But you have to know that. And you cannot be afraid to leave, and you can't be afraid to say no. You know the way Andy Cohen and I fell in love?
How?
Because when he was just an executive, before he got to TV, he cast me for the Tim Gunn show. Now, this is like nothing against Andy. And they sent me over a contract, and I read it, and I thought it looked really bad. And then I sent it to my lawyer, and he was like, this is really bad. And they were not willing to negotiate. And my lawyer said to me, well, I mean, I guess, you know, you just have to take it. I said, well, actually, I don't.
Yeah.
And we turned it down. I was fresh out of Rolling Stone. So this was my first audition that I had ever gone on for a TV show, and I got it. And then I had to say no.
Wow.
And I figured in my mind, well, obviously if they wanted me, someone else will. Now here's the cautionary tale.
What?
It took 7 years to get another dang TV show. Okay? But here's the happiest part.
What's the lesson? Yeah, what's the lesson there?
The lesson is this. So I didn't get the TV show. It took 7 years to get an actual show. But because I didn't get the TV show, I created a business called Dinner with Bevy, which has fueled my life and my relationships with celebrities like you would not believe. But if I had gotten that job, I would have never created Dinner with Bevy, and my trajectory would be totally different.
Life changes. Sometimes you're forced to change because of circumstance, and sometimes you choose to. You're working at Rolling Stone. You could have ridden that train. A lot of people don't want to switch, because if I switch, oh no, oh my God, I don't know. What if it doesn't? A million reasons why it's scary and maybe no. Were you scared to jump?
It was never my intention to stay there. So I went there with a real game plan that I would go there, succeed incredibly well, hit all my numbers so I would get my full bonus. And then at the end of the year, when I got my bonus, I would quit. And getting to Rolling Stone, it was worse than I could have ever fathomed. And my best friend, who's also my business partner now, I used to call her every morning and say, I can't do this. And she would be like, well, you can, because you have an end date. So stick it out. Because I had a literal end date. It was like, when they give me my bonus check, once I put it in the bank and it clears, then I can resign.
So there it was. It was time to jump. Did you leave because there was another opportunity, or did you just not have anything and you just were hoping?
Well, I wasn't hoping, though, Hoda. I just knew. See, I think a hope is like, I hope so. But I knew I was made for this. I knew I could do it. I just knew it. I was very firm. Wow. And then when I got that job at Bravo, that was the high five. That was the confirmation. Of course, then I turned it down, and then, okay.
So how did you make do? Because sometimes after a year, obviously, you had to make a living. What did you do in between?
I was broke but blissful. That's the name of that chapter, Broke but Blissful. I was really broke, but I was really happy.
How come?
Because immediately I started doing TV stuff. Immediately I started writing for major publications. So I was doing everything that I actually quit my job to do. The money just had not caught up yet. But for me, I believe in the universe, right? So I'm like, well, the universe is actually telling you you made the right choice. Because everything that you set out to do, you're actually doing it. You're just not making any money at it yet. But the money will come. I really believe that. And so then I had to scale back. You know, I'm very candid about this. I used to go to Milan and Paris 6 times a year, flying first class, staying at the best hotels, in a suite, car and driver the entire time I'm there, heady stuff. So in my neighborhood, people would see me coming out of town cars with all of my luggage and the people helping me and all the shopping bags and all the things. Now all of a sudden, I'm in this new life, and I'm trying to, like, make a go of it. And instead of town cars, there's an amazing bus stop right across the street from where I live. And now I'm staying at the bus stop. And there's a barbershop on my corner. And one day, one of the barbers says, hey, Bev. And I walk over, and he's like, you okay? I was like, no, I'm great. He's like, you sure? Because, I mean, I see you taking the bus now. I was like, oh, no, I'm changing my life. I quit my big fancy job, and now I'm like trying to do entertainment, TV and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. He's like,
Did that not chip away at your self-esteem? No.
No. You know why, Hoda?
Why?
Because remember, I'd already gotten that big offer from Bravo that just had no money attached to it. I was already writing for Interview, for Paper Magazine, for Glamour, for Essence. I was on VH1, I was on BET, I was doing all these things.
Right, you were busy.
Clearly, I was made for this. People just didn't want to pay me yet.
Yeah.
So that's why I was never cowed by that.
So when did the money catch up? When did they finally go, oh, okay, it's time?
Andrew Cohen kept trying to find different things for me to do with him. Come and shoot this pilot. Come and be a part of this show.
Wow.
Different things. 7 years. And then finally one day, he was doing Watch What Happens Live with Bethany Frankel. And then he had me and Bethany do a pilot together for some show that didn't go. So he said, Bevy, can you be a guest bartender? But Bethany sees me behind the bar. She's like, Bevy! And so then she calls me out from behind the bar.
Oh, jeez.
We're having the best time.
Love it.
It's amazing. Andy says, after that's done, I think I got the show for us to do together. And that show was Fashion Queens. And I said, well, I'm on a holding deal with BET. He's like, it's a benefit for BET for you to be on Bravo too. He's like, let's let the agents figure that part out.
Right. Yeah.
Are you interested? I said, sure. And so that's when the money started catching up.
You talk about like fulfilled dreams, and some of them they weren't even dreams. They just happened, it seems like.
Yeah.
What's still left to be fulfilled?
I love that question. And this is what I want to say to all of the ladies out there who are maybe feeling like, and it's really a mindset. It really doesn't have to do with a specific number. But if you are over the age of 50 and you feel like, well, that ship has sailed, I'm here to tell you. And you're watching Hoda every day, so you know she's here to tell you too. It gets greater later. At the age of 55, I have just become an actress. I just did a show on Amazon Prime called Harlem. I was called in to do 3 lines, and it turned into 3 scenes. And now there's a season 2, and they've invited me back. So I'm an actress at the age of 55. I love art. It's something that's always been my passion. It's something that I've been talking about doing for a long time. And at the age of 55, there's a film starring Mahershala Ali and Naomi Harris called Swan Song that's on Apple TV. And I actually did the art curation for the home in that film. And so the next thing I want to tackle was architecture. I travel the world just to see architecture that I love. So marrying my love of architecture with travel, with my dinner parties and all these things. And then finally, my goal is to do a Fairy Godmother TV show because I'm a connector. That is my gift. I'm a connector. I'm a guide and I'm a teacher. And I want to do a show that's like Shark Tank meets Ayanla Fix My Life. And I'm going to help you get your business started. I'm going to help you scale to the next level.
Love it. Now, what about the love piece?
Okay, Hoda. Hoda girl. She's open. She is single and always ready to mingle. I'm very, very open, and I'm trying to be very intentional about getting my great guy. What I will say about that is this. I have a very different take on love than I ever have in my life. And my take on love is this. I want to be in a monumental, respectful, and very loving relationship for however long that lasts, and it works for the both of us. I do not want to be in something just to settle. I do not want to be in something if we really like each other and we're good together, but there's no connectivity.
Yeah.
I want a partner.
Yeah.
And so that is what I'm looking at. That's what I'm seeking in my God. I feel this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm grateful for the way my life has turned out. And my guy, I always say, my guy is going to be my icing on my cake. But cake is really good without icing as well.
Bevy, thank you. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, darling. I love you.
I love you more.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.